And I've conducted them in D.C., and I've conducted them in Minneapolis, and the numbers just don't bear them out.
San Antonio Police Chief William McManus is pushing back against a proposed gun buyback program. The Amazon rainforest is on fire. We'll explain what's happening there and why you should care. And in tonight's Money It's Personal, some tips to protect yourself from credit card fraud. Thanks for joining us for KSAT News at 9, streaming from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. A noble idea that's ineffective in practice. That's how San Antonio Police Chief William McManus is describing a citywide gun buyback program idea. Last night on the News at 9, we told you about the proposed buyback program announced by two city council people, Jada Andrew Sullivan of District 2 and John Courage of District 9. The pair filed a council consideration request last week that would need to be approved by the council's governance committee before being considered by the full council. The program would cost at least $250,000 and would include both firearms and ammo. But McManus is pushing back on this, saying that these types of programs just don't work.
Folks who turn in those guns are not the ones using them on the street. Spending any money on it, on an ineffective program, is not worthwhile.
Courage and Andrew Sullivan say that they will consult with the chief, the Bexar County Sheriff, and the district attorney to hopefully refine their proposal. You have likely seen this making headlines. Fires raging at a record rate in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. Scientists are warning that these fires could severely impact the fight against climate change. So what does that have to do with us in San Antonio, and why should you care about what's happening here? Sarah Acosta spoke with a professor at UTSA to help us understand the worldwide impacts of the flames in the rainforest.
The Amazon is burning. The recent fires broke out in early August, but Brazil's National Space Research Institute says the number of fires in the Amazon this year have reached 57,000. University of Texas San Antonio Associate Professor of Geology says this will impact people worldwide.
So about 25% of the world's forests are in the Amazon.
Akeley explains that the trees in the Amazon create 20% of the world's oxygen. He also says that the trees in the Amazon take in a large amount of the world's carbon dioxide. He explains not only are the fires giving off a large amount of CO2 into the atmosphere, the fires are also destroying billions of trees that take in a lot of carbon dioxide. He says carbon dioxide doesn't just leave the atmosphere.
It's going to be there for millennia, thousands of years.
Akeley says that's a problem. He says when the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increase, it causes the planet to heat up. He says that increase in temperature throws off the balance of how the atmosphere flows.
The ramifications are that it changes the whole atmospheric circulation, causes the melting of large ice sheets, and many other catastrophic effects of climate change.
Akeley specializes in sea ice and has studied how it's been melting. He says it's crucial to keep CO2 levels in balance. If nothing is done, we need to brace for the impact in the future.
If we don't keep everything in balance, then things like rising sea level will destroy, most of the coastal cities around the United States. A third of Florida will be underwater, all of New Orleans and so forth.
The AP reports that the fires were started by people clearing land for agriculture and ranching. Today, Brazil's president said he won't accept a $20 million G7 offer to help fight the fires until President Emmanuel Macron apologizes to him. He says Macron criticized his handling of the crisis. Myra.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Now let's turn to the 9 at 9 tonight. These are some of the most interesting stories that have been making headlines all around the world, around the country, and right here at home. A murder suspect leads police on a chase in the nude. A woman outside of Houston is accused of breaking into a spa and stealing Botox, and leaders in Iceland believe tourism there may be leading to climate change. Here's tonight's 9 at 9. Virginia police believe the man seen here running around naked is responsible for the murders of 2 women and a child. Video shows the man running from an officer and attacking a church groundskeeper who happened to be standing nearby. He was eventually caught and arrested. Scary moments for 2 police officers in Ohio. They say the suspect they arrested dumped powder fentanyl inside their car. They immediately called for help.
How are you feeling right now?
I feel weird, man.
Because he said he's floating, his legs are tingling.
Yeah.
Slurring.
My toes are tingling.
The officers were taken to a hospital and are doing better now. A woman caught on camera in Sugar Land breaking into a med spa. You can see the woman in yoga pants getting out of an SUV with a power tool in hand. She then uses that power tool to cut a window and walks right into the building. She was able to get away with $1,000 worth of products. San Antonio police searching for two men they say stole diamond rings from Zales Jewelers. Police say the rings had a total value of $14,200. In California, a second car has gone over a cliff in Big Sur in less than a week. Police are calling the latest crash a chain reaction. It started when a driver had a medical emergency and collided head-on with a black van. The cars then went over a 200-foot cliff. Everyone was taken to the hospital with only minor injuries. A car also went over a cliff in the area on Saturday. The driver of that car has not been found. A man jailed for 82 days after honey he brought back into the U.S. from his home country of Jamaica was mistaken for meth. He was arrested while at the Baltimore airport. Customs and Border Protection said the honey tested positive for the drug, but a second test at a Georgia lab found no drugs in the honey. All charges against the man were dropped, but the father of 6 says spending nearly 3 months in jail cost him a lot, including 2 jobs. The driver of a pontoon boat arrested for driving under the influence after his boat went over a dam in Minnesota. The pontoon dropped 50 feet and landed upright with the driver and 2 others on board. Investigators say they're lucky they survived. As Iceland works to combat climate change, they say a rise in tourism could be causing problems. In 2008, the country had about 2.7 million overnight stays. By 2018, that number rose to 8.5 million. That's leading to concerns about the emissions from flying and rental cars, as well as the pollution associated with cruise ships. Mattel Toy Company is paying tribute to Rosa Parks and Sally Ride by giving the women their own Barbie dolls. Rosa Parks was an African-American activist known as the mother of the modern civil rights movement. Sally Ride was the first American woman and the youngest American to fly into space. To read more about these 9 stories, just head to ksat.com/news@9. These days, you can't be too careful when it comes to protecting your personal and financial information online. But what about safeguarding your information when you're at the store? Web producer Ivan Herrera has some tips on how to protect yourself from credit card fraud right there at the register.
Picture this. Molly received a store credit card in the mail even though she refused an offer to apply for it at the store. Confused as to how this happened, she, along with many other older customers who went through the same experience, contacted the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to look into it. The CFPB says it's likely these consumers may have shared their personal information, including their social security number, without knowing the cashier could use that information to open a store card without permission. It can be a scary situation, so the CFPB is offering tips on how to avoid this type of fraud. First, never share your social security number with a clerk or bank teller unless you want to apply for a new credit card. If you receive a physical card in the mail, like Molly, cancel the card immediately and explain the situation to the credit card company in order for them to investigate. Next, report the situation to the 3 credit bureaus, which are Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Remember, you're entitled to a free credit report every 12 months, so the CFPB says it's a good idea to request them every year to look for any fraudulent activity. Lastly, you can place a fraud alert on your credit report through the credit bureaus or freeze your credit to prevent anyone from opening a new credit account under your name. And don't forget, you can submit a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau if this happens to you. For the 9, Ivan Herrera.
We know that was a lot of information there, so we're putting a link to all of those tips on our website. Just visit ksat.com/news@9. And if you have any money questions that you would like us to answer, you can submit those questions right there at the bottom of that article. Stay with us. A lot more ahead on the News at 9. We'll be back in just a minute.
Well, we've all been used to the heat over the last few days, especially yesterday. Temperatures soared past 100 degrees for just about everybody in Texas. Here in San Antonio reached 101 yesterday, but Midland 113, even 102 up in Dallas, 108 in Wichita Falls, 109 in Lubbock. Look at the difference today. Temperatures much cooler. In Lubbock, only 82 degrees for the high, only 88 in Dallas, only 78 in Amarillo, all thanks to some rain-cooled air. And here's a look at that rain from today. Some showers and storms up near the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But unfortunately, they just didn't have enough oomph to make it here to San Antonio today. But that same system is going to give us a small chance for isolated showers and storms tomorrow for our Wednesday. And the reason for that is, of course, a cold front that's draped across Texas at the moment. That cold front did its job, produced some showers and storms in Dallas, and helped to move that heat high well off to the west. So again, tomorrow is going to be a little bit of a different story here in south central Texas. Watch as that front makes its way through South Texas, and it's going to fall apart before it brings us cooler air. But what it will do is provide a chance for some isolated showers and storms, especially during the afternoon tomorrow, and it'll keep skies cloudy tomorrow. So we're not going to be able to see temperatures climb to the triple digits, all because of the added cloud cover and the small chance for some isolated showers and storms. So tonight, a lot like last night, temperatures are going to fall into the 80s. It'll be breezy too. Southeast winds at about 10 to 20, gusting up to 25 miles per hour, and we'll keep those clouds in the sky as well. Tomorrow, going to be staying pretty cloudy throughout the day, especially in the first part of the day, where we'll reach about 79 degrees before sunrise. 88 only around the lunch hour. That's only a 9-degree increase because of all those added clouds. And then in the afternoon, an isolated shower or two cannot be ruled out. A high tomorrow only of 94. Now that's still hot for just about everywhere else in the world, but here in South Texas, we can handle 94 degrees. The southeast wind at about 5 to 15 miles per hour at times. So I know yesterday was National Dog Day, but what if you wanted to do a dog walking forecast for your dog? The best chance is going to be in the morning hours. You got the green paw. You're ready to go in the morning hours because it'll be cloudy. It will be humid, however. Temperatures will be in the low 80s. Right around lunchtime, that's when it'll start to get a little bit too warm, a little bit too humid. And then in the afternoon, in addition to the small chance for rain, it is going to be a bit too hot for our pup's paws. So keep that in mind. Warm into the evening as well. So a very vanilla forecast, I would say, over the next few days. A chance for isolated rain tomorrow. And then as we head into the weekend, we return to higher heat, higher humidity, a lot of sunshine for Labor Day weekend. So the good news is Labor Day weekend, you're going to be in the clear for all of those summertime activities that you may want to enjoy outdoors. Myra?
All right, thanks, Sarah. The Guadalupe-Blanco River Authority is just a few weeks away from draining its 4 remaining lakes over safety concerns. But there are some other concerns here. People living on those lakes are worried about property values, and so are entities like school districts that get funding from property taxes. The 2019 market value on Lake McQueeney alone is more than $500 million, but there's no clear answer yet on how exactly these lakes will be affected by this draining. Appraisal districts base property values on market activity, but if no one wants to buy a home on a mostly drained lake, there won't be any market activity to base new values on. The Guadalupe Appraisal District has anticipated this. That's why they've partnered with an outside company to help figure out appropriate discounts for affected properties around another GBR lake, Lake Dunlap. That was drained after a spillgate failure earlier this year. And let's turn now to some of the biggest stories people are talking about around America. The Pentagon has approved funding for an additional 20 miles of border wall. That section of the wall will be 30 feet tall and will be paid for by money left over from the $2.5 billion redirected to the border from a counter-drug fund. The Trump administration wants to take millions of dollars allotted for disaster relief to support its policy of returning some migrants to Mexico. The Department of Homeland Security plans to shift at least $155 million from FEMA's disaster relief fund to ICE. CNN reports that some of the money will be used for detention beds, transportation, and deportation. The planned SAT adversity score is no longer happening. This comes after the College Board faced some criticism from universities, some students and families as well. The plan for an adversity score was announced in May. It would have given colleges a score ranging from 1 to 100 based on a student's social and economic background. The board is now replacing that with a so-called landscape program. This tool will look at a wide range of factors, including participation in advanced courses, whether the student's school is in a city, a suburb, or a rural area, as well as the student's socioeconomic background. For years now, the pay and bonus pay of San Antonio leaders has been scrutinized, from the city manager position to the executives of our two city-owned utilities, CPS Energy and SAWS. A Rivard Report review of executive pay records at those two companies shows some big disparities. Brendan Gibbons from the Rivard Report joins us now to talk about what you found in this review. As always, thanks for being with us tonight.
Glad to be here and talk about this investigation.
Yeah, so let's start with why this investigation. Why was this a topic that you looked into?
It's something that I've been curious about ever since voters in San Antonio passed Proposition B last year, and that limited the pay of San Antonio's city manager to roughly 10 times the pay of the lowest paid employee of the city. That's around $300,000. And I thought to myself when that happened, I cover two utilities whose top CEOs make more than that, and they don't seem to get the same kind of intense scrutiny that former city manager Cheryl Scully was getting for that salary. So I wanted to dive in deeper. Most recently, SAWS President and CEO Robert Puente, the board approved a total compensation of nearly $600,000 for in 2019. And Paula Gold-Williams, President and CEO of CPS Energy, the pay is so much higher. She earns a salary of around $485,000. The board approved a nearly $450,000 bonus, bringing her total compensation up above $930,000.
So nearly $1 million, roughly half of that in bonus pay.
Right, and so I wondered, why is the structure so different between these two? And I ended up going on a pretty interesting little rabbit hole where I learned quite a bit about how that pay disparity between water and energy actually matches one that's going on across the country. So I surveyed municipal utilities at comparable sized utilities all over the country. We have some of the largest public utilities in the country, so it's important to know that first of all. What I found is though, even though Robert Puente's total compensation is so much lower than the CPS side, it's still pretty much higher than any water utility I looked at. Whereas on the CPS side, on the energy side, that fell right kind of in the middle of the pack for all these top utilities. They are all paid quite a bit more. It's not unusual for a public power and gas CEO to be paid more than $1 million in compensations.
Yeah, so why the difference between an energy or power provider versus a water provider?
It all goes back to the competition for the private sector. So what experts from around the country told me is there is a labor market for these top executives, and they have to compete with people or with private companies wanting to poach these executives away. So on the power side, most Americans get their power from a private corporation, a big energy utility. On the water side, most Americans get their water from a government, and same with their sewer service. So it's interesting that because it's a government-dominated field on the water side, overall everyone is paid less.
Former city manager Cheryl Scully came under so much fire over her pay and her bonus. In your reporting about the executives for SAWS and CPS Energy, have you gotten that kind of response where people are, so heated in their questions, in their criticism, or how has that been different?
Maybe unlike a lot of reporters, I do read the comment section and the
You're
social
brave.
media
You're
comments.
so brave.
I delve right in. Well, I'm curious to see what people think, and as it turns out, yes, a lot of people had that same reaction. Why are we paying these people so much? I think what I was surprised by learning, and what I think our reporting shows, is that same conversation, those same issues, San Antonio is not alone in that. Those are big questions across the board, and I think maybe a question worth asking is, how do we see utilities as a government entity? Are they just like any other government entity where they're paid for by taxes? In some way they're pretty different because they're paid for on a fee for service basis. So you pay them for what they provide to you. So I don't know, it's a philosophical question. Is a utility a government or is it a business? And that's kind of what we tried to get at in our reporting.
There's a lot of information here, and it's something that not a lot of people would seek out themselves, and you've made the comparison pretty easy in your articles. So thanks for shedding a lot of light on a pretty in-depth topic. We appreciate it.
I hope people will go and take a look. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brendan. We'll be right back. Last night on the news at 9, we told you about a landmark decision by an Oklahoma judge that requires Johnson & Johnson pay more than $500 million to help clean up the state's opioid crisis. Well, today, the chair of the Bexar County Opioid Task Force says that that's a good sign that Bexar County will be able to win in a similar opioid lawsuit. Now, in the Oklahoma case, the judge made the decision based on findings that the pharmaceutical giant misled people about the dangers of opioids. The judge also found that ad campaigns led to an increase in opioid deaths and cost the government money to treat the problem. Bexar County is making a similar claim in a lawsuit filed last year. The county is suing more than 40 pharmaceutical companies for an estimated $1 billion in damages.
We're going to ask for money to mitigate the problem moving forward, but we're also going to ask for the manufacturers and distributors to reimburse the county for costs that have been incurred thus far.
The Bexar County trial is expected to begin in October of 2020. Let's go to our website now to find out what is trending tonight with RJ Marcus.
All right, Myra, let's start here with a story that is getting a ton of clicks here today. The latest report on the sugar daddy status here in San Antonio.
The latest report?
Oh, yes.
People
are very interested in this.
I need an update, clearly. Okay.
So this report apparently broke down the neighborhoods where the most sugar daddies are here in the San Antonio area. Do you want to explain what a sugar daddy is?
No,
it's kind of,
I don't.
Okay,
RJ.
you're not going to go that route.
I think a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, and they're clicking on here. So yes, we found out these were the areas.
Does this report define a sugar daddy as someone you have a relationship with?
Sure.
And
yes. Yeah, it's kind of it's sort of an arrangement that maybe one would go to, and we have a link to a website there.
Okay.
But anyways, the highest areas here in San Antonio: Northeast, Northwest, North Central, and 9 different areas, neighborhoods here where you could find sugar daddies. And yeah, I'm not even sure where else to go.
Information you can use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
More rankings on here. Texas comes in 8th place, male sugar babies, and there's also information here on sugar mommies. So this is an equal opportunity sugar.
We have a sugar family article on our website. Okay.
There you go.
Not surprised people are clicking on it. It has sugar daddy in the headline.
There you go. All right, moving on here. All right, so we've all seen these like latest chicken wars, chicken sandwich battles and stuff.
Yes.
KFC is going the opposite way. They are now doing meatless fried chicken.
Okay, I've heard
Thoughts
about
on
this.
Yeah.
Is it fried chicken if it's not actually chicken?
You know what? That's always been my biggest thing with plant-based stuff, is that they're always trying to make it seem like you're eating meat or chicken. So what's the point of that? So this is going to be called Beyond Fried Chicken. It's going to be available in nuggets and in boneless wings. This is only at a few KFC locations, so you can't run down to your local KFC and get your meatless chicken.
I mean, I hope it's good. I have, some vegan, vegetarian friends who would love more options. My grandmother, who made excellent fried chicken, would have something to say about that.
Okay, but, yes, I'm sure.
Yes. Happy it's available for those who want it.
Yeah, full information there on our website, KSAT.com. All right, last story of the day here. This is kind of a pretty cool story out of Pasadena, Texas. So there is a parrot that's out there that can do a pretty impressive grito.
Okay.
So, of course, grito is like the traditional sort of Mexican chant when you're hearing music, having a good time, and this parrot can definitely wail here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Wow.
That is good.
All right, so this parrot is very popular here. He's gotten a lot of attention. He's made the rounds on social media. We reached out to the parrot owner, and it said that he's been listening to Hispanic and Latin music for some time now.
Okay,
so he picked it up.
What's the parrot's name? Do we know?
Cotora.
Okay. All right. So this is the parrot we need at parties.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Or even here at KSAT. Throw us a good grito here at the station.
Afternoon lull. Yeah. You might need a little.
There you go.
Little grito. Okay.
We have this video on our website if you want to check that out. And those are all the stories that are trending today, Mara.
All right. That was a good little mix there, RJ.
Interesting stories today. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. We'll be right back.
This is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Philip Morris and Altria are in talks for a monster merger. It would create a tobacco giant valued at more than $200 billion. The two companies, which operate the same portfolio of cigarette brands, are exploring a deal to help combat decreasing sales as the industry faces stiff competition from e-cigarettes like Juul. Philip Morris, which was spun off from Altria more than 10 years ago, confirmed the two sides were discussing a merger of equals. And Panera is teaming up with third-party delivery platforms. The restaurant chain is going to now work with Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash to bring its sandwiches and soups to customers. Orders can be placed on the separate apps, but Panera employees will deliver the food themselves. Delivery makes up 7% of Panera's shares, and the app business is booming. Last year, consumers spent more than $10 billion on third-party food delivery platforms. And Yelp has unveiled a new feature that produces more personalized search results. Users will be able to update their profiles with dietary preferences, lifestyle interests, and accessibility needs. Interests can range from bakeries to bubble tea or art galleries. It's the first time that Yelp has offered personalization options, and the company says it is focused on becoming a comprehensive personal concierge. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Kristen Scholler from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Our search for the greatest continues. Thanks for watching KSAT News at 9. That is all of our time tonight. I'm Myra Arthur. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.